Is there ever a complex action? For example, many of us might be thirsty. The action that quenches thirst is pretty simple. Either you stretch your hand and pick up the bottle and drink it, or you just, entice someone to fetch the bottle for you. Both of these are not really complicated actions. But do you know how much calculation goes into it? Is it the right time to drink water? When the next pause comes, then I will signal for the water. Or should I wait for the break? How far is the break? And you can go on thinking for 20 minutes about drinking water. Is there any complexity ever in the action? The complexity lies in the mind that thinks of the action, and you still want to think more. Because in thought there is security, right? The feeling that I am doing the right thing. The feeling that I have weighed all the pros and cons, and so now I know the right thing. The fact is that in the process of thinking itself, you might be missing the right action. Have you seen how much we often ponder before we utter just 2 or 3 words to somebody? You can spend a lifetime thinking and planning. And all that you have to say is a few words. Is the action complex?
Whenever some important task is there, suppose tomorrow is my exam, and all the time mind is thinking and thinking and thinking, and it's also fearful. So you just said ki mind is thinking and you want to stop, but it doesn't get stopped by itself. Mind is thinking, I am saying do not think. Mind is saying I am thinking, let's kar lo kya karna hai. So what is the...
Mind is saying the right thing. Mind is saying do what you want to do. So do.
Now, I am very thankful then, because he is planning and he is doing something very great.
Yeah.
He is planning that metro is chalenge, stand-up phone jayenge, and everything he is doing. I am very thankful to him. But I have no control. I mean, I cannot say, "Bhai chup ho jao." No, it's not like that. It's. I mean, is there two or we are just one?
It should be obvious. Mind is not even 2, it is 20,000.
Yes.
It's 20,000. Let the mind do what it wants to do. Calculations are needed in certain cases. You buy something and give 1,000 rupees note.
Amazing.
So calculations are needed in that space. Let the mind do what it wants to do. You only keep seeing what it is doing. And if you are diligent in your seeing, then the mind cannot go astray. The mind is designed with the capacity to move, to think, to plan, organize, manage, decide, dissect. Let it do all these things. Otherwise it will get bored. Let it do all these things. Even this is a concept that the mind must always be still. Mind must always be still. 2 is a mind-made concept. You don't need a mind that is always still. You need a mind that is devoted to stillness. We live in a world of movement. You must live in this world of movement, surrendered to stillness. So you move, surrendered to stillness. You talk, surrendered to silence. You meet the other, surrendered to oneness. In the world, there would always be noise, differences, diversities, movements. You cannot say, I'm not going to move, I'm not going to talk. You will move, you will talk. But even as you engage yourself in all kinds of divisive pursuits, see that you are committed to unity. Ensure that your topmost priority is peace.
The one that is being asked to be diligent or commit to peace is also the mind only, no?
All is mind. All is mind.
So, but how does mind of the master work? I mean, he is also working among us. He is taking decisions. So, how is his mind working? That he agrees to that. I mean, if supposedly we talk about that something has to be reached, the truth. So, how does his mind is working?
When the disciple knows how his own mind works, he also knows how the mind of the master does not work. So the key to knowing the mind of the master is to know the mind of the disciple. The disciple avoids looking at his mind by trying to dream about the mind of the master. When you will know yourself, you will also know the teacher. Without knowing yourself, if you are curious about the teacher, you are just avoiding self-inquiry. Let your questions be pointed towards you. And when your questions are pointed towards yourself, strangely, you also come to know the teacher. Yes? That was not yet complete. I can see that. Yes.
So it's like becoming a self-aware screen on which movies are being played?
It is not about becoming anything.
Or being, or like...
You are already that way. The mind, the center of the mind, the universe, all are already perfect. They need no change. The whole game needs no betterment or improvement. Our efforts to add something to it, to glorify it further, to decorate it more, cause suffering. You don't have to bring self-awareness to the mind. You don't have to become a witness. That is your natural state. A natural state that the mind already loves. You don't have to force yourself. You don't have to impose a discipline upon yourself. You don't have to conform to guidelines or schedules. It is anyway the natural thing that is happening and will happen if you are not insistent upon blocking it. So you don't have to think about how it will happen. You don't have to worry about making it happen. You don't have to wonder about the processes required to make it happen. You just have to leave it alone. Leave it alone and it is already happening. But we don't leave it alone, we interfere. We feel a tremendous urge to take responsibility on our personal shoulders. We say unless we force it happen, it is not going to happen. Now neither do we know what is it that we are trying to make happen, nor do we know whether we are the right agency that can make it happen. Still, we are quite adamant that it must happen, it meaning something hazy, totally woolly, nebulous. But it must happen, it meaning what? You ask people, what is it that you really want? And they'll get annoyed. Because nobody knows what he really wants, but they'll say, oh, it must happen. Okay, it must happen. And it must happen through me. And who are you? That too I don't want. No. Now neither do I know where do I want to go, what is it that must happen, nor do I know who am I who wants to go in that direction and where I am standing, but I want the whole thing to happen. Strangely enough, it does happen sometimes.
On its own. So when that happens, can it become permanent? These are temporary moments like.
No, when it is there, it is there. You see, the search for permanence arises from a fear of the ephemeral. We are so afraid of the temporary. We feel death will take everything away. From there comes this demand for the permanent. And what we call as permanent again is not permanent at all. It is just the apparition of permanence. In fact, if something is assured to you as timeless, you will not want to take it, because what is timeless cannot be experienced. To experience something, you require it to be limited in time, because all experience must begin and end. Timelessness cannot be experienced. But we crave for permanence. And craving for permanence, remember, is fear. We are so afraid, so insecure, that we want something that will not end. We want something that will not betray us or go away or disappoint us.
That's why we created God.
That's why we created God, or rather the concept of God. When it happens, it is characterized by a loss of appetite for the permanent. You stop wondering whether it is permanent or not.
So, there is a lot of aloneness there.
There is a lot of aloneness there, because that is our concept of spirituality and realization. Otherwise, everything about us is related. You are related to me right now, you are related to this gathering, you are related to that chair, to the air. Everything about us is anyway naturally related. But we impose loneliness upon ourselves. And that imposition happens in many ways. For example, when you are saying that I must be only with these two specific people, even that is loneliness. Loneliness is not just about having no one to talk to. Loneliness is also about having just two specific people to talk to. And those two specific people might really belong to you. You may say, I possess them. They are mine, my family, my kin, kith, whatever. But these are just 2 or 5, let's say 100. But some definite number, even that is loneliness. to quantify, to limit, to categorize your relationship is a worse form of loneliness than being all solitary. You have these things. Remember, if you experience loneliness, it is not something that existence wants to give you. It is something that man takes upon himself. It is something that we wear. It is something that we cover ourselves with. It is not something that emanates from our heart. At this moment, for example, is there any need really to be lonely? But loneliness will be there. If, for example, one remains imprisoned within his mental cell, then loneliness will be there because there will be no real relationship with the girl next to you or the man sitting there. Now there can be no relationship. Even a relationship with the speaker is not possible if one is within his internal confines.
Whether it happens or it doesn't happen, does it make a difference, and to whom does it make a difference?
Yes. When it makes a difference, then there is surely somebody to whom it makes a difference. When it does not make a difference, then there is nobody to whom it does not make a difference. So till the point there is somebody, it will make a difference.
But then if it is that is happening, then there is nobody.
And hence there is nobody even to say that it is not making a difference. That is why there can be no experience of realization, because there will be nobody to claim that he is realized.
And even if it is not realized, then also there is no difference.
No. If you are not realized, then you will be there to say that you are not realized. Because realization is not a concept. Realization is what you are.
Yes.
Feeling that I am not realized is deep conditioning. Because there is nobody, believe me, sitting here who is not realized. There is nobody ever born or ever likely to be born who is not enlightened. But there are some who carry the concept that they are not enlightened. And if you are carrying a concept, then surely are somebody who is carrying that concept. You are the carrier of that concept.
They are not willing to let go also.
We are that.
Yes. The carriers of non-enlightenment.